We did it. I was like actually ready to be on time. I was ready. I was here. It was happening. And then my wife came home. We had to have a conversation. I had to like enjoy her presence. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, I'm going to set up some things to make this more enjoyable. But welcome to Unhinged Lore Analysis. I did the reaction video yesterday and I tried to do a little bit of my unhinged lore analysis, but like I it was too much of a reaction and not enough of a lore understanding, right, to be able to like really get into it. So like now I've done some research. Hi friends, hi potato. Hi quesito. It's not quesito. I just always read it as quesito. um uh but yeah, I've done a little bit of like actual research now, so I can actually like intelligently talk about some of this lore. And oh, it is quesito, so it's quesito fia, not quesit of yeah. I guess that makes more sense. Regardless, so first I want to put up a little bit of a. I need. Oh, yes, that's right. Somewhere in my brain, I know a lot of Spanish. Um, that somewhere is clearly not here. I haven't really considered my Spanish knowledge in a long ass moment. I don't think I've really considered my Spanish knowledge since like the year 2018. Uh, I have started to learn so many languages and I know none of them. I've started to learn, let's say I got a decent way through Spanish. I've done German. I've done Arabic. I've done a little bit of French. A little bit of French. I had a hard time with French. Um, I've done a decent chunk of Japanese. I've been getting into Korean recently. I tried Swedish for a minute. Um, and I just need to emphasize that I don't know any of these languages. Like, I get enough into a language until I feel like I'm having a hard time doing self-teaching. And then I've done German. I did do some German. I forgot if I put that on the list. Um I really love languages and I'm like I do pick them up quite well. Um but you get to a point where like you need to like take a real class that you pay money for and like talk to people in a language, and I keep not doing that part of it. So um I don't know any languages anymore. Yo no sé. Wakarimasen. Right. I was going to find so okay, this is going to require a number of things from me. So what I want to do is I'm going to essentially do a really weird thing where I'm going to break down how I would do a narrative analysis. Um like a system, a multi-systems narrative analysis, like in my head, because that's essentially what I want to do here. Um so let's first open up my unhinged lore board. I do wish I had more than two monitors for this. That would make my life a lot easier. But alas, we are where we're at. And where we're at is not a place with two monitors. So, such is life. Okay. So we've got our unhinged lore board over here. And I'm going to zoom out because all of this is like systems. This is all motif stuff, right? So if I go into Miro and I create a frame, I want to create a frame of just motifs. Motifs. I can move that frame over. And then I'm gonna come down here. I'm gonna make a new frame for, I guess this will work. Make this new frame for run it. And then on that frame, we're gonna add some things. But first, before we get there, I also want to put up, if I can figure out how to, that sounds like work. I don't want to do that. I wanted to put in like links to the Discord or like a little informational, like, I don't know. Maybe there's a widget or something I can put up. I don't want this. What is happening here? Go away. Okay, great. Let me go to my, let me make sure everything's actually running, because I have not made sure everything's actually running, and that's generally useful knowledge to have. As we know, based on my prior history with things running, sometimes I don't realize they're not running. Dashboard and YouTube live. So over here we've got run it. While those are loading, I'm going to put in a template. What template are we going to use? We are going to use maybe a diagram and mapping. A mind map? No. Concept map? Maybe. I don't think a bubble map is what we want. Ooh, actually a fishbone might be really helpful for this. Yeah, let's go with a fishbone. Because something that I've noticed, having now read a number of things, watched a number of things, gone through the lyrics a little bit, is that what it seems like we have happening is we basically have, narrative-wise, two different narratives that are being explored in Run It. We've got, like, we've got one side of the narrative that is the Korean history and like lore and mythology, and then we've got one side of the narrative that's Skiz lore and mythology, and those are two different but parallel narratives that we have going on at the same time. And so that's what we kind of want to break down is first, like, what's the narrative arc of the actual story that we're going for, and the actual story, the like in universe. No, first, as a contained piece of media, what is the narrative arc that we're going for? And that's an overarching, like, the arc is the Korean history that they're showing. But then as a larger piece of both lore and actually that means there's sort of three narratives, so maybe fishbone isn't what I want. I know that figuring out which diagram to use is like maybe a little pedantic, but getting the right diagram can be important. Now, I'm also a program manager, so like maybe don't trust me on that. There's got to be a story mapping in here somewhere, right? Not a tree. Where is Ace? Do we have a story map? Story map. User story. No, story mapping. Storyboard. Not. We could use multiple storyboards. This is a little bit of. Oh, customer journey map might actually work great. Let's take a look at that. Now, I know that this feels unhinged and too obsessive. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I'm not I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I'm not going to pretend otherwise that this is a normal level of invested to get about a music video lore. You know what? This should work. Use template. Oh, that's too tiny. Make it bigger. All right. Half of this doesn't matter, and that's fine. Like I don't need this. This is not necessary. Um, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna label this. Hey, can I get a label actually for my top one? Why don't I have a label? Oh, I see. Yeah, well, we'll ignore that. That's fine. So we're gonna put in the contained story, as I mentioned, the skizverse lore, and then the actual skiz lore, because there's a little bit of all of that in there, which is very interesting and very cool. I'm really. I think that what they've done with the narrative in this video is really interesting and really fun, um, because it is so like multifaceted. It's a really brilliant piece of artwork. Like the more that I see and learn about this music video and the different factors in it, the more impressed I am with the just like artistry involved. Um, so I'm going to go back to YouTube because we are going to have to actually bring up at some point the some music videos, because there's a lot of references to a lot of different music videos, and I want to take a look at those as well and sort of map out some of those. Um, so first, and I also want to go back through the video itself. So we start with the contained piece because we're looking at a narrative arc. Let me actually just make sure they don't have a narrative arc template. I just assume they don't, because that'd be a really weird thing for Miro to have. No, they don't. And I'm too lazy to make my own, so we're not going to. We're just gonna do step by step then. I'm looking for the tab that I just opened. I just opened a tab. Where did I close it? It's not on my screen anymore. Y'all, I'm a mess. I'm a menace and a mess. A messence. I'm a messence. That's what I am. Has everybody been listening well, I suppose, as they might put it? I assume so. So I've pulled up on my phone some of the things that I have read and been seeing about the arc of this lore, including some of the things that the director has said. A messescence. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, is it like a renaissance, but a messescence? I don't like it. I don't like it, Borfi. I'm not here for it. I want to pull up the Instagram of the director, who has said some things about it. Samsonim. Definitely been reading like a lot of the comments on the post. God, this pisses me off. Actually, it's like makes me mad to see that like to comment ratio. A lot of people are really getting into their shit about their determination that the line distribution is too uneven. It's very frustrating and annoying. And I just oh, and that also Hyunjin, I guess both Hyunjin and Lino clearly were excluded by the director on purpose for reasons, and it's very frustrating to watch. It's also not true. They have incredibly even screen times based on like all metrics that people have taken. They seem to have quite even screen times, like surprisingly even screen times for this type of video. So it's oh, I see. They're mad because of the solo screen time. Why do we care so much about solo screen time? I don't I don't understand. That's really baffling to me. I it's whatever. Um so anyway, the director has actually said a few different things about this. So I found a more accurate translation at some point, but essentially it says that like the story of this is a heritage arc from the uh, original. So the first story that they're looking at is the uh, story of the tiger and the bear. Um, I think it's tiger and bear, or is it wolf and bear? It's got to be tiger and bear because that's what Chan was. Um, and that myth is about the kind of creation of humanity, right? So in that we have stop. What is this? Go, no, oh my gosh. There's oh, I don't like this. Oh, I see how this works. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, I see how this diagram works now. Um, that's on me. Uh, yeah, sure, I'll keep using it. Figure it out. It's fine. Um, So this is the myth of the creation of humanity. Um, we have Chan as the tiger and Sungmin as the bear. I know yesterday there was some confusion about what animal Sungmin was representing on the reaction. It is in fact a bear. Um, tiger. Sungmin is, and what that myth is that both of them wanted to become human. So they went to a son of a god who had descended from the heavens named Huaneng. And uh, there's there's some interpretations that this is about like a bear worshipping tribe and a tiger worshipping tribe in like ancient Korea, but it's not 100% certain like where this myth comes from. The point is, the bear and the tiger both go into a cave, or are challenged to go into a cave and survive for 100 days, eating only mugwort and garlic. And if they do so, they will be turned into human. Um, the tiger gives up and leaves the cave, and the bear doesn't and becomes human, turns into a woman, and marries the son of a god, and that son becomes the king of the first kingdom of Korea, the Gojoseon. Um, so this is. Hi, can I? No, that's not what I wanted. How do I remove these? How how do I? How, hi, I would like to get rid of this. Actually, thank you. Here we go. And so this is the Joseon era that it's representing. Yeah, I know someone. Yeah, I've seen a couple Singmin as a trans woman confirmed to jokes. You are not the only person who has made that joke. Um, talking about all of the gender in here, or Mpreg, putting it out there. Um, so we have over in our motifs tigers, and we don't have bears yet. The tiger symbolizes. What do you keep convert to timeline to map out? Not now. Okay, that was obnoxious. Um, hey, can I now click on the thing I want to click on again? Thank you. Jesus. Fighting Miro. So, the tiger represents bravery, whereas the bear represents patience. Um, so the bear in the story waits and finds the success. I never said anything about Omegaverse. It might be Mpreg because Sungmin is a trans man. We don't have to go Omegaverse to get Mpreg. This must seem very random for anyone not in Twitch chat. I'm so sorry, YouTube chat, for just whatever random things I end up responding to Twitch chat with. One day I really should figure out how to get the chat onto my screen. I keep thinking about it. I think I keep contemplating that as an option, and have not yet engaged with that option. But maybe I should. Maybe I should. Yoon, who wrote one of these big long threads that I'm pulling from, and I'm pulling from a number of threads, but who wrote one of these big long threads, also said that the background of the dance here in this part looks a lot like looks like it's modeled after the Chonjeden altar on Taebeksan Mountain, where rituals were held for the heavenly god from ancient times. So that's a fun little artifact, like a motif artifact that seems to be the case. We then have a number of artifacts that come up. So we have the Celadon incense burner. And let's just actually go through these first, right? Like the basic narrative arc. So the... Would you stop? I didn't ask for you to create a new activity over there. I wanted it here. What? What are you doing, buddy? Pal. Come. No. All of these can go away. Making a burn down now. I don't need this. So that's the it's an artifact from the Goryeo period. There are a few other artifacts here as well. I'm trying to see where the next arc movement comes in. I might have to actually do some research on that. So I did read one thread that was theorizing that the Hangul on the ground actually is the representation of the Joseon period, which like we don't see any other representation of, which I think is a interesting little idea, because that's when Hangul was sort of created. I've got to take a look at the other the historical one-to-one on the other artifacts and when they are in different periods. But before I do that, so I am not personally very meticulous about my when I do sort of any type of narrative mapping. And this is true for any type of narrative mapping that I do, whether it's for my podcast. So like I'm doing right now, I'm writing out the narrative map for the alien storyline, whether it's like whether it's hello friend, whether it's a narrative map from like a therapeutic perspective. So I primarily do narrative therapy, which is the analysis of the narrative of your life. So when I do narrative mapping, I have, what is this? Which window is this currently pulling from? I am not the most, how do I put this? I'm not the most I let myself bounce around. I let myself bounce around a lot. Um, just based on like where do I have to do some research. The lore is very confusing. So what we're doing here, friend, right now is sort of breaking down the three different narrative arcs just from like a really high level, because once you start with that really high level, um it becomes a lot easier to um break down potential relationships. Um and so what our like highest level, like the theory I'm working with right now, and as I go through this, I might change my theory, but the theory I'm working with right now is that we have parallel narratives of Korean history and like Stray Kids history, right? So I'm actually going to write that on my screen. That this is my theory that I'm currently working on. Um, and the way that you do theories is that, and this is true for any type of scientific theory, and thus it's also true for any type of any type of theory, which is that your goal is essentially to prove it wrong. It's very easy to prove a theory right. um, so when you create a theory, you're sort of going out and assessing, like, is this does this theory hold up, or are there places where I can like poke holes into it, right? So my current theory is that the music video is a parallel narrative of Korean history with Skiz history. My other theory is that the music video, for from a lore perspective, um, is part of the Thunderous slash Double Knot storyline. Um, which I have not built out in like deep entirety yet because we haven't really got there in my unhinged lore analysis videos. So that's gonna require its own. Hey, thank you. Um, and then like the other theory is that the contained lore story, because they sort of do these meta narratives. So like the music video meta narrative is that parallel narrative of Korean history with Skiz history. The contained lore story, the non meta narrative, so uh, connected, um, the contained connected story, I think is essentially like they've the kids have gone through all of these various different planes that have sort of merged together and resulted in catastrophe. Seems to be essentially the story of the main narrative arc of the Stray Kids lore, I think. Um, and they're essentially trying to resurrect, um, like rebuild, etc. The like civilization. Uh, is my interpretation of what's going on there. So we've got three different theories. This again is exactly not in like not this explicit per se, but this is essentially what we're doing in any type of like life analysis therapy as well, is that we are breaking down um, what are the different through lines of the stories that are meaningful to you from your life, and what meaning do those stories hold. And the meaning that you find in those stories, is that meaning actually representative of reality? So that's why I say all of these are theories, is because we're going to go through and we're going to try to poke some holes into them, right? Which is exactly what we do. Like that's what you, it's what you do with literary analysis. It's what you do with clinical analysis. Most of our lives are stories that we create in our heads that we then have to poke holes into. That's like that's like a really large portion of what life is determining if the stories that we've created in our head, that if the stories that we are interpreting are consistent with evidence and reality. So, um, I like this part requires a bunch of research that will take me a while. It's not necessarily as needed because I can't really disprove that, right? As I said, you're working on disproving the theory. The theory has been through. It's not a theory anymore. It's just kind of like a fact, right? The director said it. It's you know, pretty straightforward. You can't really. There's no really disproving this one, right? So I don't necessarily need to interrogate that as much. It requires a bunch of research that is very interesting. Um, but for the like unhinged lore assessment part, it, we're gonna have to ask some questions, but about the connection to Skizz history, but we don't necessarily need to go deep on each individual part right now, per se. Um, Hi, friend. Um, so let's instead go to double knot. And now I think this is really interesting. And I haven't seen people talking about double knot as part of the lore analysis. Where the fuck is the right goddamn tab? I am so tired of myself. I have so many tabs, and none of them are the right fucking tab. Here we go. This is the tab I wanted. Jesus. Um. So let's look at. I want to look at double knot. I think double knot is really interesting for a number of reasons, both from a Skizz lore perspective and from a like Skizverse perspective. So I'm going to split up these two things for the sake of speaking. When I say Skizz lore, I mean like real world, um, uh, like canonical events versus Skizverse. I'm talking about their music video lore, their music lore, right? Um, yes, Hyunjin is in Double Knot. You did it. You figured it out. um, I would bet. Okay, so Borfi on Twitch says that they saw someone connect the Chaos Road clip to being a double knot. Someone else say that it looks similar to the Black Tortoise. Could be both, right? Like this is a perfectly valid combination interpretation. Um, uh, Now I want to go through double knot because if we look at, let's isolate down to just the lyrics for a second here. Um, Actually, I wonder, does the Run It music video have? Sometimes they have the lyrics on the. No, they don't. Okay. Um, Let me pull up just the lyrics. Lord. Run It. Stray Kids lyrics. Um, because there's a lot of resemblance in the lyrics, and I know that in the choreo there's reference back to Double Knot. Um, there's reference back to a lot of Stray Kids, and this is part of the history sort of thing. Is that a lot of the chorus dance in Run It is a combination of their um like big dances. I think that'd be sick if it's both, because why use a shot of roads in a historical heavy music video? I mean, some of the use of roads in the city is. Actually, let's go back to that for a second. Is they are talking in here about uh, city. Literally, they have build another city here, right? Um, Run it day and night. Uh, and that's sort of why I'm going on this theory that what they're doing is rebuilding from this kind of apocalyptic world. Uh, Now, we're going to have to actually map out the Thunderous storyline in order to see if this is accurate. And that may end up disproving this theory, right? But if they're rebuilding a civilization, then it makes sense to use something like roads, right, to show that rebuild. Um, and as well, we're going through Korean history, which means that pulling in modern day is important. And I think that actually, again, yeah, we sought to capture K heritage spanning from the Dangun myth to the modern era, right? So it is relevant um, to have something that's like very modern in there. Okay, let's take a look at Double Knot. So we remember where they are in Double Knot. Like let's take a brief memory of the lore. Double Knot was very interesting because it's one of the only other times that Stray Kids has done a pre-release. Um, it was a similar situation. Was not a title track. Came out as a single. Um, uh, and was part of the next album, right? Um, which was Levanter, right? I think. Um, I need to like real quickly. Okay, do not just Google search Double Knot. Do you ever now and then? Yeah, it was part of Levanter. Do you every now and then Google something Stray Kids related, and then remember that you can't Google that. That's not gonna work. You're not gonna you're not gonna, especially because I usually use DuckDuckGo, which is a terrible search engine and I hate it. But oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Somebody's decided that I'm a bootlicker and not a real stay. And it's very funny. Um, I don't, I just, I simply cannot be fucked to care too much about like how much solo time each member has in a music video where they're the only one on screen. I can't I can't decide that of all the things I care about, that's the thing I care about. Whatever. Um no, the city is not the same in Skiz lore as Miro. So there's let's okay. If we can, so let's pull up actually first just to remind ourselves where we are in Skiz lore in Double Knot time. So if we go to Stray Kids in Life, I think it's God. What is it? What the fuck is it called? It's called something real weird. No, in Life trailer. No, 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 it was Go Live. I'm sorry. I always get In Life and Go. I am a fake stay because I always get In Life and Go Live confused with each other. No, that's not it. Go live. Prequel highlight reel. As though any of us would fucking remember that title. No, Borfi, you're so fine. Let's go back and remember what's going on in Double Knot era. So, Skiz lore, for people who don't know, who are very new to Skiz lore has sort of a break in it. There's basically pre go live and post go live. So everything in pre go live has a very consistent canonical, like, there is a narrative arc, and we're going to see some of that in this highlight reel. Everything after go live is ambiguous, and people keep wanting to get like confirmation of what is and isn't canon lore and part of lore, which, and until we get any of that information, in my opinion, all of them are part of canon lore. And that actually works very well because it's a multi-universe lore. Multi-universe lores, there's absolutely no reason that you need to say that any of them aren't part of the lore. They can all be part of the lore, until you are told otherwise. You know, so, but it's a lot less clear. There is a little bit of clarity pre God's Menu, and God's Menu and further out, we just are sort of fucking around and finding out. We're all just sort of hoping for the best on that, right? That's why in my Miro board, right, like, I, instead of trying to map out timelines, really started with mapping out a combination of like storylines and motifs, right? So, like, what is connecting to each other? What seems to be like a really consistent connection point? And I think that makes it, again, with multi-universe stuff, that can make it a little bit easier. It can also make it more complicated because, like, some motifs are just things that exist in the world. Uh, but yeah, so that's the main, like, break in Skiz lore. Now, this video came out, it came out, when was the actual date? May 31st, 2020? Yeah, so it was considered a highlight, like a prequel, but really what it is like, people were trying to figure out the lore and were really, really bad at it. And so Chan was like, fine, I'll tell you what's happened so far in the story. And it's sort of a refresh, right? This is a refresh point for them. The same system, they expect perfection. So how can we be different? And I think something that's important about this too is that while Levanter it technically was their first OT8 release, the Double Knot music video, and Double Knot is part of Levanter even though it got re-recorded, the Double Knot music video does still have Ujin in it. And this was also like a very difficult, complex, emotionally charged time for them. So Go Live and God's Menu really was like a big reset point, and they treated it that way in lore as well as in, like, reality, you know? A sign, an omen, a glitch. A sign, 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 a sign, an omen, a glit So this half of this is just refresh.
We decided to get out of here and find our true selves.
So what we get in District 9 is them sort of breaking out of the first universe, right? And it goes back, does a refresh of
We
that.
went towards a small light with you.
So this is I am you, that's why the with you, where they're all living on this rooftop together. And Ian stays on that rooftop, and we get back to that rooftop with ceremony. We've got lots of moon lore. So they leave the rooftop and they go to Miro, right? So Miro is a specific city.
Forward, we threw ourselves into Miro.
So Miro is like both a universe and a city, kind of, right?
We ran around the unknown city without any hesitation. Many nights have passed. But nothing has changed.
Yeah, so what they're saying here is that in Miro, basically, they like really tried to be brave. And actually, this is sort of interesting because we can bring in that tiger. There's a lot of tigers in Miro. We can bring in that like tiger idea, that bravery, but they're trying to lead this rebellion. But what they're saying is that they try to do that and nothing changes. So in that trailer between Miro and Side Effects, you see them open the elevator and be like, nah, because they really weren't able to actually affect change in this reality. So they decided to move on. If you haven't, you will not understand the lore if you do not watch all the teasers and the trailers. I know that everyone is so super upset that the teasers for some of the recent music videos don't some of the recent music videos don't include all the clips from the teasers. This has always been the case. This is it is commonly the case that the teasers include parts that aren't in the music videos. I would say that it's about 50-50, if not more frequent, that the teasers have something that isn't in the music video, that there's something additional. That's just how it's kind of always been. And I don't really know why people think it's a new thing. I don't know if it's that it's Baby Stays who think it's a new thing, or if I don't really know. But regardless, so you really kind of have to watch all of the trailers. Pretty much always have something different in them. You kind of have to watch all of the trailers and at least take a look at the teasers to see if they have something different than the music videos in them. And all of the unveils. You know, I think that like infamously Be Me had an unveil that everyone's still waiting on a music video for. And the Be Me unveil, which is not a music video, is part of the mixtape lore. Like, it's part of the mixtape storyline lore, the unveil, which is just a mess. It's just a mess. But we survive, anyway. So in Miro, nothing changes, and they move on from Miro.
We turned our backs on the world.
We turned our backs on the world. They have all of these keys. It's like a whole thing, and then the keys to become irrelevant after they leave
The road not taken.
this set of multiverses. So yellow wood is sort of the next area in video games. We would like say the next zone. Whether it's a different universe or a similar universe but a different zone in that universe, yellow wood is sort of interesting because that's, I think, the first time that you see two versions of them, if I recall correctly. I think yellow wood is the first, that side effects is the first time in a music video you see two different versions of the kids. You see the version that goes with the bus driver, and they end up getting taken back to like the facility or something. And the version of them who go on this more difficult journey. The I haven't quite figured out where the second group comes from, and my interpretation is that the implication is that every universe has its own stray kids. Like every universe has its own set of these boys that may be making different decisions.
Sometimes our choice came with consequences. In those times, we shared our fears and helplessness, and also relied on each other.
Now, there is the floating city throughout the entire first part of this, the like upside down floating city.
They thought of their own comfort. We thought of our own way.
Which is sort of reflective of these.
And so different moons came up with different choices.
Different moons, different
When we
choices.
stood in front
That's
of the door that
what
day,
that's
thinking about
reflective.
the shadow of the moon on the other side. The wind blew.
Yeah, so that's all Levanter. So in Double Knot, we are at this point between side effects and Levanter, where they are trying to figure out their own way, right? They don't quite know their own way yet. They're figuring out their own way. They're trying to figure out what choices they have. They don't really necessarily know what choices are actually in front of them yet. They're still trying to decipher that. So that's where we are in Double Knot lore, is this group of young people who have been desperately trying to find their path and don't really understand what that means, where to find it, how to find it, and what choices they have or where those choices lead either. It's this group of young, ambitious people trying to be very brave who don't necessarily know how to be brave productively yet, who don't necessarily know where they're going, why they're going there, what they're doing. And that's where Double Knot comes in. And so that's I think what's where we start to see some like really interesting parallels between Double Knot and Run It. And I am going to open this up. I'm going to make the captions kind of aggressively readable because I find that the I think that the lyrics are important for this. We're going to go back to blue. Yeah, we're going to go back to blue. So they're sort of collecting their keys, right? They've been running around. They've been collecting their keys. Some of those keys they've kind of already used. They don't really know where they go. Hyunjin staring into the void. So, whatever the steps wherever the steps take me, I'm running, right? where I should head doesn't matter anymore. Uh, like, this is very much like the reason they're shaking off confused worries is because they have them, right? They're confused, they're worried, and they're just trying to push through, tighten their double knot, as it were, and just run, just go, right? And I want to balance that with uh where we're starting in Run It, which is like, okay, we've been running and like, damn, you know? So like retying, it's like specifically retying shoelaces that need to be retied, right? Which requires you to stop, right? You're stopping, you're reassessing, you're trying to pull yourself together so that you can keep going, so that you can feel free. You get up, now you can go, right? Get up, 어디든 나는 갈 수 있어. Get up, 갈 길을 가지 모두 비켜. Get out, 어디로 가든 생각나고. 그랬던 자세를 펴 어디든 걸어 여유를 느껴 흙탕물 범벅 길도 비가 번쩍한 길로 드라마틱함 틱하면 틱하고 척하면 척하는 결말을 만드는 감독 인생 명작서 확확 끈질기게 so let's like position that against where we're at with Run It. So this is they have persisted, right? They have persisted so much and they are still going and they're going to keep going, right? There is, you know, as he says, no limit, right? They're not, there's no running out of like where they're going and what they're doing. This is the outcome of the persistence, right? So in Run It, we have the outcome of the double knot. We have, if I am persistent, I can do it, right? Like I'm going to make the decision that I'm going to manage it no matter what. I'm going to make the decision to make the choices I want to make and go wherever I want to go. But they also are talking about, like, the compass is a big thing, obviously, right? The compass is a big part of the lore. And Felix, being sort of the compass master god guy, is even saying, like, we're just looking at a compass. We don't know where we're going, but we're going to go anyway. Right? Changbin is even talking about the freedom in failure, right? Like, I may not succeed. This might go very, very poorly, but as long as I succeed sometimes, that's enough. And that's satisfying, and that's good, and it's movement, right? And that freedom in making those choices for yourself. Hyunjin here is talking about, like, this really basic, like, I've been super focused on one direction, and I'm realizing that I have so many options. I have so many options. We have so many options of where we can go and what we can do. And I can make so many choices that I never thought about making before. This is, like, such this is such a theme anthem for a bunch of young kids who have no idea what the fuck they're doing, right? Like this is the motivational anthem for I don't know what comes next. I don't know the outcomes if I just run down a path. But you know what? If I just keep running down paths, if I just keep making choices, if I just keep going, I'm going to end up somewhere. And that somewhere might not be where I want it to be, but then I can run somewhere else, right? I can keep going as long as I keep going, as long as I make sure that, you know, I am persistent and that I do pull myself together, we can keep going. That's where we're at with Double Knot, um, in that era of Stray Kids. And I think that also something that's really important is that, like, Stray Kids have often made music that's very representative of where they are, like, emotionally. Um, they definitely sort of took to heart the, like, write about, like, your own story type of thing. Um, and I think that that's very accurate to where they felt like they were at in this sort of like post Miro, but also post side effects world, because um, Miro and side effects had very different reception. Um, which is not to say they regretted side effects, right? Like, I think in many ways they didn't, and in many ways that's also what they're referring to. Um, it's just like you gotta do it, as it were. And here it's still that same concept of like we have to run, but like there's confidence in it now. Like, we have been running everywhere all around the world. Um and we still are. And we know what we're doing now. The concept of blind victory seems to be consistent, especially with Felix's overseer character, like in Ceremony. Not saying they don't work for the victories they get, but there is a clear characterization of striving for anything and winning everything. There are some of my thoughts on that. I think that it's about, I don't know that it's about blind victory so much as it's about almost random victory, right? Like they do a lot of lyricism that's about being sort of up to the whims of society and the world. And it makes me sort of think of like, we're going to keep working really hard, but that doesn't mean you can always be in control of where that hard work leads you and what happens with that hard work. Um, and even when that hard work starts to become easy, you might have a better sense of what the outcome is, right? I think that Felix's overseer god-like role is um, often representative of competence and confidence. Um, and I think that you see a lot of their roles as sort of dualities or as mixtures of truths, right? That it can be true both that things that used to be hard now are easy for you, and that you still have to work really hard to get payoff from something that's seen. I'm not sure on the wording. It's such a consistent winning and still somehow losing, like in Hollow or Social Path. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a few different tracks of like from a lore perspective versus from a skizverse perspective versus a skiz lore perspective. There's sort of like different paths on the skizverse perspective, like different storyline within a storyline. Um, but from like a skiz lore perspective, I think that the complexities of I mean, I think I talked about this probably quite a bit with my hollow reaction. I don't remember my hollow reaction now. It was over a year ago, but um, just knowing me, I probably did. The There are inherent complexities where success in art and capitalism, success in capitalism, in viewership, in expression, does not mean success in happiness. And that difficulty of living in hyper productive societies that claim that if you are successful from a productivity, from an exposure, from a like monetary, like whatever that is, perspective, this idea that that will bring you happiness from a like emotional perspective. And that's just not reality. That's just not reality. Yes, money can buy happiness up to a certain amount of money. And that amount of money is the amount of money basically required to ensure like your human rights and dignity. Um, Beyond that, money doesn't really buy happiness. Like once somebody's human rights and dignity are mostly insured, money, like yeah, there are problems you can throw money at, but overall, money doesn't really provide much increased joy. Um, in fact, we don't really see that any of our like big capitalism values provide actual like joy and happiness from any other success criteria perspective, right? Like um so much of so much of being happy kind of requires unlearning a hyper productivity mindset and a like hustle culture mindset, um and requires learning how to do things because they feel good and not because they're supposed to provide you success. Um, and so it doesn't surprise me that they have in their music this deep ambivalence between, like, yes, we are dominating from a perspective, but that perspective does not actually, even if we're meeting those goals, there's a lot of other things that are going to go into actually enjoying life and feeling stable and happy in life. Um, and I think that's just a very complex um, overlap. That's also a very like systemic view, like deconstruction, um, and requires a little bit of like just like psychosocial analysis too. Um, I think there's a reason why they don't have a lot of songs that are about both. Yeah, it's hard to have a song that's combining um we are overcoming hardship and we're killing it with, and also sometimes I feel like absolutely none of this has been worth anything. Right, like that, those are two very different sentiments to overlap, which is why it often feels like there's this like big tonal shift, because those are two tonally very different sentiments that can both be true and accurate at the same time, right? That ambivalence is very common in people. Um it's very true and accurate for a lot of people to have both like pride in accomplishment and also kind of terror in like knowing that you don't necessarily actually feel joy from that accomplishment. like true happiness from it. That maybe you feel accomplishment, that maybe you feel satisfaction, that maybe you feel relief, maybe you feel, maybe you even feel a little bit of pride, but that it doesn't necessarily bring, um, you know, peace, right? So, what I'm looking for is evidence that this is not related, that we don't have this correlation between double knot and run it. But, like, I'm gonna be honest, it really feels like we do. Actually, I'm sort of curious even if I like look at the, what were Hyunjin's parts in Double Knot? Shit, I'm like, that's what I just read, isn't it? Indeed it is. Actually, let's look at the Double Knot English version, because also the Double Knot English version, the performance video, is delightful. It's also what they did. It's OT8 rather than OT9. And I want to find Hyunjin's part. No, that's not it. Here we go. Yeah, okay. I think that yeah, that's not quite as directly, but I think that this, I mean, I just think that this is really interesting from a Hyunjin's perspective. Yeah, but he's even still here talking about chasing, right? Bringing back the moon lore also is like throwing them back to like earlier days. It's not the same moon lore, but it's still moon lore. And we all know how I feel about moon lore. I think that this is about the earliest that we're really good. I mean, they have like choreo from earlier than Do It. They have Elevator, Muro, side effects, etc. choreo. But if I'm thinking about it, you know, they have some other anthems before this too, but this feels lore-wise like the closest reference point. And I do think it is just really interesting also that this is really, I think this might have been their only other pre-release. I might be wrong about that, but I think it was. And yeah, I find it really interesting that they have these two sort of like anthem-esque pre-releases. Obviously, Run It is more of an anthem, but like these anthem-adjacent pre-releases that are based around like exploration, but like heavy exploration, right? This sort of um this type of exploration that is difficult and is requires a lot of stamina, requires a lot of endurance, right? Like we're talking about running, we're talking about marathons. Um what it is to run a marathon and continue to run a marathon and build confidence, right? That we have one here that's about like I really have no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing, but like fuck it. I'm going to do it anyway. And that we have one that's no, I know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. And that doesn't make it easy, but it does mean I know what the fuck I'm doing. And like that difference that like 6.5 years apart, um, what that changes for them, you know? Um, and in lore, like they've been around a multiverse at this point, right? They've been to several universes at this point in lore. um and so we still have that same like in skizverse, okay, I'm seeing I have a bunch of options and I'm going to go through all of them, and then getting to I've been through so many things that I can put back together a universe, right? I can recreate something that has been destroyed, you know. I think that's really a cool parallel. I think that's a really fun parallel. Um and I think I need to do a little bit of research on some of these myths that they are referencing in Run It to kind of get a sense of how much that parallel is equivalent in like what they're showing of the mythology. Um, so I'm feeling pretty now that I've watched it, I'm feeling pretty confident on um like the Thunderous slash Double Knot storyline here. Um Specifically Double Knot, but I think that the Thunderous storyline sort of stems from the Double Knot storyline. If not, it certainly exists in parallel and then like ties up here, which is true, I think, as well of Do It and Divine. I don't think that they're actually really in the same storyline until Run It. I might be wrong, but they felt like different storylines to me. They felt like different storylines to me. Though I know that Divine has this little weird ending bit with that Felix.
This is the way I have my fun. Oh, it's
I've seen this video so many times, but like
we make it right, we make it right.
my mouse just dropped and like 17 things happened. I don't know what those 17 things were, but they all happened. Many buttons were pressed because It was my phone, actually. It fell on my keyboard and then it, like, in 4 different places. I should figure out where those places were. What did it fall on? I'm such a mess, everyone. I'm such a mess. I'm always a mess. It just is what it is. Anyway, so I feel pretty good about double knot to somewhere over here, run it. Now I have to make sure that I'm not making shit up when I think about Thunderous as being part of that. So we have the whole sound monster bullshit. Oh, do I need to rewatch that? Fine. The Thunderous trailers are wild. They're really wild. Or the Noisy trailers are really wild. The Thunderous teasers are also wild.
속보입니다. 곳곳에서 목소리를 잃는 사람들이 폭주하고 있습니다. 이들은 일정 수준 이상의 잔소리를 내뱉었다는 공통점을 갖고 있는 것으로 추측하고 있습니다.
Aw, he's back in the fridge. God damn it. I'm gonna have to add this to my lore board. Fuck. Where's my lore board? This is a different part of my lore board. Where are refrigerators? I know we have refrigerators somewhere on here. Fridge. This is just Noisy trailer. Okay. Poor Fridge IN. Yes, refrigerated IN is lore. Because they put IN in the fridge in IMU, and then IN was left behind on the roof in Astronaut, and just like stayed up. That IN just like made a home up there or some shit, I guess. I don't know 100% certain, but yes, this is the same like position that IN was in a fridge.
The Sea monster
in IMU
is gaining power by devouring all the world's nagging sounds.
This is such a silly. Hyunjin getting different background music is also a repeated element, which I think is just a funny inside joke. I don't think that's lore.
If the Sea monster finally evolves, more people are bound to die. We've got
It's
to find
very
their
silly.
base. There's only one plan. To stay together.
It's, I just love what a fuck you it is.
Pull it together. Only we can and save people from the sea monster.
노래 좋네. 진짜 좋아. 근데 애들이 왜 이렇게 안 오지?
아, 형복이 살아있네.
Okay, I don't know how relevant to run it that was, but now I remember that that is one of my favorite trailers. It's just so silly. It's just incredibly bonkers. The raw clips. I don't want to know about the raw clips. Speaking of music videos with teasers that have a whole bunch of unused footage in them. That is definitely a Thunderous gig here. So this is... Thunderous was really, like, I think their first really, really big leap into that modernization of, like, that Korean culture overlapping, like, modern and more historic culture stuff. Oh, right. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different one. Did this teaser also include... Okay, there was one, oh god, maybe I'm thinking of a Go Live one. There's one teaser that's very, very, very silly. And I don't remember exactly which one it is. It was very silly. I'm tired. Doing lore analysis is exhausting. This group doesn't have lore that makes sense. I know that in my, let's see, I think I have a playlist. Is it true that I have a playlist? I think I have a playlist for my Thunderous storyline. I might be wrong though. I have so many playlists. I have playlists for I try to make playlists for the motifs as well, which is a nightmare. And every now and then I will make the same playlist multiple times. So if I've got like I've got the mixtape universe, and I've got portals, and I've got the main storyline, and I've got trapped classroom, and I've got questionable food choices. I've got doors, post-apocalypse, which clearly here I have more things that need to go in post-apocalypse. Do I have a Thunderous one yet? Oh, I do, but there's only one video in it, and it's Divine. Okay, cool. Useful. I do think that Double Knot goes. It's not, the Double Knot performance video is not filmed at the same, there's a misconception that's filmed at the same place as Thunderous. It is not. But I do think it's a prequel to Thunderous. It feels like a prequel to Thunderous to me, and that's going to be as good as we get, because Skiz lore is not actually sensical. I don't think it's meant to actually be analyzed at this level. I don't think that it's built to be seriously questioned. I don't think anyone seriously questioned it in the making of it. I don't know who's involved in the making of it. I doubt it's the same people. I suspect that half of the people involved in the making of these music videos have no idea that there's lore. Um, I don't think that this is a system that is put together well enough to actually be analyzed. But I certainly can pretend. Like, I really just want to solve the mystery of Stray Kids lore. It's become a fascination of mine that is not a helpful fascination, because what am I wasting my time for in this, you know? Like, why am I doing this? This isn't this isn't but I need to solve it. I need to solve it. And there that's not possible. You can't solve this. I know walking on water is also part of this. And you also know that they're related because Hyunjin has that line of arrows hitting me and they miss. So, like, we can do that reference back to walking on water. Thunderous. What's else in this line? Oh, that's right. We also have to look at Giant, don't we? Because Giant's got a whole bunch of shit here. And Giant's part of the, like, becoming gods lore. I've seen a lot of people talking about Giant, and I'm trying to find the similar reference points to run it. I mean, besides the running, which maybe is enough of one. Do I have running as a motif? I feel like all of them run all the time. No, I don't have running. Maybe I need running. Do I need running as a motif? Shit. Am I gonna regret having running as a motif? I also wish someone would upload a censor Harry Potter. Is case 143 part of Skizz lore? Yeah, of course it is. All of the main music videos are part of the lore. Case 143, there's a couple different Skizz versus Police versions of themselves. Case 143 falls under that. I'm trying to remember the other. You know what? I think you're right that Pangchan does just have a board to make the lore more confusing. Are there Stray Kids music videos that don't involve running? I guess is the question. I don't know that I'm as convinced by the Giant run it overlap, besides the fact that they're running. Giant does have the giant monster motif, and it is part of the giant monster lore. I mean, I think maybe it's possible that just like everything funnels into run it eventually. That's possible. Like, it's possible that run it is like, so in narrative building, like so in game design narrative building, there's this kind of concept of let me see if I can show it to you, of like narratives that have to come to sort of a head, branching path narratives. You can't infinitely branch a branching path narrative. So let's see, if I go to templates, if I go to ideation and brainstorming, mind map, maybe? Load? Load, maybe? That'd be dope if you loaded. Yeah, so if I put in a mind map template, um, let's say we want to, so this is like one of the major problems within doing narrative design for games. So if anyone's interested in narrative designs for games, here's an interesting little conceptual issue. So essentially, what everybody wants in narrative is narratives that branch infinitely, more or less, right? So you have your start. Hey, and what they want is you make a choice, right? And you've got three choices. And choice 1A, choice 2A, and this leads to a different game state, choice 3A. But what they want is then you have from that game state more game states, right? Choice 3B, choice 3C. You see where this is going, right? And we'll talk in a second about what happens with this. So we have made two choices. And with two choices, we have essentially now this many game states at minimum. Right. Now, that is what we in the biz call really fucking expensive. Right. This many game states, again, we have two major choices. This many game states is super duper fucking expensive. Like, how are we, because you need to have narrative, you need to have art, you need to have every single part of a game. You need to have the level design, you need to have the game design, you need to have etc. and so forth. All of those things. So we've got 9 different game states from 2 choices, right? So what we do instead is we do a branching to a point in the narrative where things come back together. So what we might say is that, like, let's say we even went with this many choices. This is a lot of choices, frankly. This is like we're probably working at AAA level here, you know. Now maybe a really straightforward way to do it would be to say that like all of these Oh, is this mind map not going to let me? It's not, is it? That's frustrating. Oh, shit. Ah. Hi. This really is not what I wanted. Hey, how do I make this? Can I ungroup this, please? Okay, there we go. Nightmarish. Okay, well, fine. I really wanted this to actually change something, and that is not working the way I want it to. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. So what we would do is, a really easy way to do this would be to, after this, you get like we reduce down just based on that first decision game state. We get choice 1, choice 2, choice 3, right? And that path, no matter what decision you made, like this choice here is going to dictate what happens at that point. That doesn't tend to feel great for players. This method is not. It doesn't tend to feel good from an arc perspective, because it makes the decision making feel really like gross. So what we might do instead is we still want to reduce down to 3 choices, right? 3 is not an uncommon game state. It's still a lot, but it certainly like is functional. What we might do instead is we might say that there is instead like, this is what's pretty common in like evil good based systems, is that these will then connect to a like stop it. What is this? Don't do this. What are you doing? I clearly am not used to using this particular template. You might instead come back to a like choice 1, right, wherein, or like a choice A, wherein anyone who makes the A choice gets to one place. Anyone who gets chooses the B choices gets to one place. Anyone who chooses the C choices gets to one place. So that might be a game state method for, this is really common in like anything that uses like evil good alignments or things like that. Eventually, kind of no matter what the narrative you make is, you need to have a point where everything reduces back down to our main story. Right, that kind of no matter how many branches you made here, all of these branches, there needs to be a main game state that we return to at some point. Really expensive games might be able to handle 2 or 3 game states. This is not inclusive of like bad endings, right? That is a common way also, is that the game state is that the game terminates early, right? So let's say like up here you make a specific choice, then what's going to happen is that if you choose 1B, then the game ends, right? No more game. And so that's a terminating path, is what we would call that. And then these other ones aren't. But usually, eventually, we need to make it back to a point. If you don't, the narrative becomes really unwieldy, and it becomes really difficult to it's not just expensive, it's also just really difficult to figure out like what's going on, what's your plot anymore, what's the goal, what's the game about, like where are we going from here, right? Now, part of the reason that Skiz lore is so incomprehensible is because this is kind of what they did. They made a billion paths, and it's very difficult. Like, it's gotten to the point where it's difficult to figure out which stories are related to which path, because it's not this straightforward. It's much more like, okay, we've got a game state for like choice 1C and choice 2A. We've got a game state for like 5 different things over here that all reduce down into this, right? I wish this were not a mind map and that it would let me convert it into literally anything else, because I want it as something else. I don't know what I want it as, but I don't want it as this. But that just is what it is, I suppose. Oh, actually, maybe that's not helpful. Whatever. We'll take a brace, right? And so they've got all of these like just really confusing, like, this relates to all of these things, and also like maybe this thing down here, and it's just that's part of like the really big reason why the narrative is just really fucking unwieldy. So I kind of am wondering if Run It is this like actual main story, like, okay, we are bringing everything back to a singular point, right? Now everything comes back, we've got a main story again, and we can restart our branching pathways. We that no matter where you start or finish, right, all roads lead to Run It. All roads are related to Run It. I do kind of wonder if they didn't actually plan a core story and have just decided to fuck it up on purpose and take whatever fans predict just to make us feel part of this. I mean, I don't think there ever was a plot ending. That's the thing, is that like they had that like main contained plot line for the first part of the lore, but I think the entire point that this is they sort of got themselves in trouble, where the entire point of the first segment of the lore was like, we don't know where we're going, we don't know what we're doing. that was the story, was we're lost kids who feel very alone in this world, who don't know what we're doing, but we're going to do whatever it is that we do with every ounce of passion that we've got in us, and we're just going to drive towards it. And the sort of end of that story was their like commitment to keep going, was finding a path for themselves and committing to like believing in themselves. Very cute, very inspirational, very etc. But not like it doesn't really open you up for a lot of great further directions to go. So then they started Go Live, and they wanted to be a lot looser with the plot. Like they started kind of focusing more on this: how do we connect songs together? How do we create like meaningful motifs that can connect things, right? So in God's Menu, like we have the menu part, we have the what is we have the corvids, and we have the noise, and we have the like we've got a lot of things that they're sort of pulling from old stuff, but then also incorporating as a new idea of like what their sound direction is going to be. But it's not really like a plot. But then at the same time, they're still continuing certain storylines. Like they clearly still want to be referential, but there's not like a plot to the referentialism. And so instead, it's just very confusing. And they've even said that, like, I think Hyunjin was talking about how they were going back to being more lore heavy. And I think that when they're talking about being more lore heavy, what they're talking about is like having a plot. But in order to they're trying to build a plot off of a very long piece of lore that has not really had many plots in the last 5 years. Right? Like there's sort of these mini micro plots, but we haven't like had like a lot of consistent plot over multiple videos in the last 7 years. We've just had like, yeah, that seems like it relates to this, and that seems like it relates to this, and like maybe they're in this universe doing this, and maybe this one is from this universe, right? Like it's literally the plot basically is here's a bunch of music videos of these dipshits going around and fucking shit up. Like that is the plot of like Stray Kids. Like if I go to my whatever the Stray Kids music video playlist, which I really need to find the one that I actually like that is not JYPs, because I hate JYPs, but like if you look at anything pre-Karma, like all of the plots are basically like, yeah, we go to places and kind of fuck some shit up. And that's just like not a very, that's not a helpful basis as a plot for, okay, now we actually want to look at like real plots again. We have some things with a little bit more, a lot of the Japanese music videos have a slightly different plot. How can Pongchan be behind this chaos? I just can't believe him not wanting out. Why do we think Pongchan is behind this chaos? I don't know that he is behind this chaos. I mean, I think that they have like some power over music videos, but I don't really have any reason to believe that like Chan himself is storyboarding out the Stray Kids lore. I mean, maybe he is, but I don't know that that's the case. I'd need to rewatch some things. Yeah, like I know they have influence over the music videos, but I don't know that Chan is the mastermind of the lore, right? Um yeah, we've got a couple other different types of plots in here. We've got angsty boys being angsty plots. I've also got the headcanon of Stray Kids being superhero special forces group that's meant to go to the multiverse and fix stuff, but are failing miserably. Until like 3 years ago, started actually doing that. So I think that that's one of the groups. So that's the thing, is that we've got multiple groups of Stray Kids. We've got like fuck up groups. We've got less fuck up groups. They do have powers from whatever happened to them before. There's lots of different theories on the powers. I'm so glad that I was validated that Lino is a psychopomp. But like some of these very well are like a psychopomp. A psychopomp is like a death being, a reaper, a god of death, something like that. I just realized that. Yeah. So specifically the Run It trailer. The teaser, the part that was not in the music video of We Know. Which again is super normal for Stray Kids. This is not atypical. Come on. Come on, bro, where are you? Okay. The one that people keep referring to as quote unquote Saja Boy Lino, which is not what that is. The Saja boys are wearing an outfit that is of the like psychopomp of the of common Korean lore, which is called the Joseon Saja. So let me reopen up because I need to remember there's a word for this outfit and I need to remember what it is called. Messenger of Death. It's more of like a bureaucracy than it is like a god of death. What is the name of what they wear? I cannot remember off the top of my head. Where someone, come on, internet. Come on, internet. Oh, actually, it's not always. Okay, there's a few different ways, but they do usually wear the black cot, which is the hat. I thought that the whole outfit had a name, but I was incorrect. I have theorized that Lino is a psychopomp for a good long minute. Mostly because he keeps being alive when everyone else is dead. Stray Kids die a lot in the music videos. Like a lot. I first really noticed this, honestly, with Hollow. But like Stray Kids die a lot in the music videos. And somehow Lino is very often like alive. Let's take for instance Lonely Street. I don't think Lino is evil. People think Lino is like the villain or evil, but I literally think he's just a messenger of death. Which, like, again, was confirmed. Like, Joseongs are not necessarily good or bad, right? Like, they're just bureaucrats for you know, managing souls. Now, what that could mean is that a lot of Stray Kids are ghosts. So like Lonely Street has that. Venom has like, does that mean that they're ghosts? Does that mean that they're all dead? Does that mean like what actually does that mean? Do they come back to life? Solution unclear. But we certainly have yeah, see? So we've got everybody except Lino who's fine. IN is interesting because he's the only one with a canonical like clone. And I haven't quite figured out which IN is which. It's kind of hard to keep track of them. It's definitely a game of like what is that thing where people do this thing with their figuring out which IN is which is a nightmare, and I'm not sure that anybody knows. I'm not convinced anybody knows which IN is which, actually. But point is, the teaser confirmed for me that I was right, and I'm going to hold on to that for the rest of my days because that was an unhinged theory that I was correct about, and I'm not gonna get over that fact. I don't remember where I was going with this. Oh right, we were just talking about how there's no plot. There really just is so little plot. There's more plot in some of them, so like Ordinary has more plot. But even that, okay, so like Ordinary connects to more things. I think that there's more of a plot between like the Ordinary trailer and some of the other things. Like we know that like Ordinary to like mixtape dominate is a thing. Or was it mixtape dominate or was it hop? Or was it both? It was hop. I'm thinking of hop. Yeah. Ordinary to hop is a thing. But I'm really just hoping that bringing together Do It and Divine and Run It, which I think they have done, is just them bringing us back to like one stable story path to start on again, because this is it's just really, it's too much. It'd be interesting if one multiverse loses OT8 so that multiverse dies and they are reborn in a new multiverse. I don't know if we'd know what happens to a universe if OT8 dies because we don't see that universe because OT8 is dead in it. So I don't know. I wonder if it's more like a yeah, so they're always dying and coming back because they suck so bad at fixing the universe. Well, only some of them are there to fix the universe, right? There's so many different versions of them. And I don't think all of those versions are there to fix the universe. Some of them might be. I think that eventually they're trying to, but like the problem is seems to be that them breaking the universe is also what is fixing the universe. So it's kind of like a them versus them situation, which is a little rough. It's a little rough. But yeah, it could be that like Lino is keeping them from like what Lino is doing is instead of like being a bureaucrat of bringing the souls to where they're supposed to go, is sort of like not doing his job. Maybe that's what's breaking the multiverse, because Lino isn't doing his fucking job. I don't know. Lino, are you doing your job or not? What's up, bro? And now they're wolves and bears and shit. Like, come on, man. What's going on with your soul capacity? I'm gonna go back to. And then there's the overdrive version of Do It, which is just like a bunch of frat bros. Like, this is definitely its own universe. And that universe is just a bunch of guys hanging out at a house. Like, this universe is fine. There's nothing wrong in this universe. Mostly, except that it's like always sunrise. Like, there's definitely a little bit wrong in this universe. It's a little broken, but mostly it's just like dudes hanging out at their friend's place. That's my guess on the Do It Overdrive version lore. Is it's like this is the one universe where like mostly things are chill, except for some weird little eccentricities like the sharks in the pool. Like it's definitely not completely cool, but like it's chill, right? That's my theory about. We also have the upside down crescent moons again, which we hadn't had in a minute. I know that one of the theories on that is that there's like evil and good skiz, and I think one of the skizzes has the crescent. I don't remember. It's complicated. It's complicated, and I'm tired. So I don't know. What was the point of this live stream? Was it just that I was feeling energetic? I think I was just feeling energetic. And I wanted to talk about this music video more because I really liked this music video and it was a gorgeous piece of art. And I think maybe that's what the point was. And maybe that's all there was to it. And anyway, I really wanted to talk about Double Knot. And I didn't know how to talk about Double Knot, but I got to talk about Double Knot for a long time. So that was great because I think that it's a really cool like parallel between Double Knot and Run It, which I already said for like an hour. I'm gonna eat dinner and go to bed. This has been me